hate to say it, but Scott is actually right about this one. I hate to say it because Scott and I very rarely agree on anything. He's right. He's right. He's right about this in the fact that sloppy journalism, sloppy polling, and what they did. Look. I was the recipient of more than 100 lies.
I don't trust polls for many of the reasons that will be presented in this video, because how do we know that this is actually a representation of what the American people want, and you're just not rigging it to favor the person you want and trying to persuade public opinion? It's absolutely just something I don't find to be really necessary. You know, people should be presenting the points that they want. And then, like, I mean, if we're going to do a poll, put it on Twitter like X, where it's actually the American people voting. We have CNN, where they're going to go in on some stuff. Michael Cohen, a former attorney of Donald Trump, who's apparently very critical of him a lot of the time nowadays, is going to be going back and forth with a lot of people on the panel. Scott Jennings has some things to say. And it's just an all-around very interesting topic. And it gets a little heated. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to Our Team News to ensure that you are enjoying our videos, so they'll continually show up in your feed, and then they'll push it out to more people. I'm Titus. Let's get into this video.
The poll was wrong. Many of the polls are wrong. They've been wrong for many cycles, but it's not like this is the only thing that has been said in the news from either side that is not true.
I hate to say it, but Scott is actually right about this one. I hate to say it because Scott and I very rarely agree on anything. He's right. He's right. He's right about this in the fact that sloppy journalism, sloppy polling, and what they did. Look. I was the recipient of more than 100 lies, and I understand what Trump is doing in terms of changing the way defamation cases are brought in this country. You may remember the allegations. I was in Prague, never been to Prague. I was in Czechoslovakia. I paid $10 million to Kompromat. I have a house next to Putin in Sochi. None of this is true. On top of that, there was another one that came out as an example where I allegedly was paid $400,000 by Poroshenko to create a meeting between him and Donald Trump during the presidency. That is also not true.
So do you think it should be easier? You believe it should be easier?
No, I think that media has to do their job. They have to actually, they need to get the facts right.
But wait a second.
We were right. And that's always wrong.
And that's a bar, 100%. Nobody, like, I'm not saying, obviously there's lots of like stories that are in the works, right? You're trying to figure out what the truth, and so it takes a lot of, like, you know, trial and error. You're not going to be 100% right, but things that are alleged need to be very clear and distinctively alleged. I'm not 100% sure. This is a working story. I heard this thing. We do not know. Do not accuse this person. Let's not be accusatory. And that's not how the media frames things. They try and create some spin a narrative to character assassinate an individual before all the evidence has been brought out. And then once it comes out that the person didn't do this thing, well, the whole world already thinks they're the villain anyway. Are they vindicated of their crime? Are they, exonerated of the? Sure, maybe they're no longer, in terms of legally looked down upon or having any litigation directed at them, but now in the court of public opinion they're vilified. They're seen as a bad person. We're seen as the whatever, and it's a way that they can completely spin a narrative to do whatever it is they want it to be, whatever it is they want to be done. And so it's journalism they need to get it together for sure. And with polling, how do I know? How do we know? And you know what's funny? I've been seeing this a lot. People ask, how do I know that, or have you ever met a person who has been pulled for a poll? And I haven't, and I don't know anyone else who has. I'm not saying it's not true. It's not creating a conspiracy, but I would like to know somebody who's actually been pulled in for polling. And how do we know that they're not pulling all Democrats or all Republicans, and depending on where you are? I don't know, but it's just like, I don't know. We have more of the same exact panel discussion from CNN, and it's just interesting seeing them defend themselves galore and not really care about, in my opinion, the American people and how we want things to be represented accurately and justly.
Do you think it should be easier? You believe it should be easier?
No, I think that media has to do their job. They have to actually, they need to get the facts right.
But wait a second.
We were right. And that's always wrong.
It was wrong, but guess what else was wrong? All the polls of 2022. And none of those pollsters are
all wrong.
And you were wrong in 2022, Scott, because you said there was going to be a red wave.
I never said that. I never said
Twitter,
that.
do your thing, run the clips, because people said that there was going to be a red wave, and there wasn't. And so when you make predictions, which is what we get paid to do, is to read the tea leaves and determine, it is not something that should rise to the occasion of litigation.
You know what, Scott, how many...
Saying that there's going to be a red wave and then putting out multiple polls in favor of a politician that are just completely contradictory to the level of support or lack of support that person gets in the actual election is not the exact same thing. And you have to remember what happened in 2022 to disrupt the red wave that probably would have happened. Roe v. Wade, all these women were up in arms. They tried to make it a single issue voting, like, oh, all these people are trying to take your rights away, yada, yada, yada. Had that not happened, it probably would have been a red wave. But there was factors that came into play that definitely switched the results of the election. And it was more of like a red, not a red wave, you want to call it a red droplet. It wasn't like we got completely obliterated, but it's not as good as we had expected. And then the red wave happened 2 years later, after people were like, you know what, maybe that single issue voting over something that's not going to be changed either way is not worth it. So not quite the same, but go off CNN.
How many campaigns have you done? I've done 100 million, and probably you have too, right? Every time you get a bad poll, are you supposed to sue the pollster now?
It's not about the poll. It's not about the poll. But look what happened. It came out from a person who has a lot of credibility. Virtually every single panel I was on for the last week of the campaign led with, well, look at this poll out of Iowa. It's the, right, and so it wasn't the poll. It's the second, third, and fourth order narrative.
Listen.
The number,
and it's just
speech. So what? So what?
It's free speech.
What about Scott? I mean, what about free speech? I mean, I thought that this was the Republican Party of say what you want. Let's debate it in the public square. Like, let's have the conversation. Now it's let's only have the conversation if you're 100%. Prescient and correct in that moment. It was a bad poll. It was a wrong poll. The media discussed it. So what?
Do you know what I'm so tired of, Scott? The #1 cable news network, Fox News. The #1 paper by circulation, the Wall Street Journal. #3 paper by circulation, the New York Post. #1 person on the radio, Sean Hannity. The #1 person on the podcast, Joe Rogan. All of these people are Trump supporters. What media are you talking about that's anti-Trump?
You're not familiar with the anti-Trump media?
You're not familiar with the fact that you guys control for everything
of
from
all
podcasts?
the things I've heard you say out here, that might be the nuttiest.
Scott.
That is so nutty. Fox is the #1 news station. Okay, one out of how many publications that are completely anti-conservative? That CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all look at that. That's just off the top, man. There's so many that hate Trump. Always, NBC, always come against him. Literally everything that they do, it was proven. There was a stat that came out that 97% of the coverage that was given for Donald Trump, or 97% was positive for Kamala Harris and 93% was negative, all around coverage for Donald Trump. But you want to sit there, yes, you're right. Now, Joe Rogan, all these other alternative platforms, because you guys wouldn't accurately represent him. Yeah, all these other people that actually wanted to be just and look at things objectively. Yes, a lot of them maybe lean more right now. And this isn't legacy media. This is the anti-media that got Trump to be vilified and seen as a comparable to Hitler. Yet you guys lost trust with the American people, and so other people had to rise up. Resist the mainstream, RTM News, they had to rise up. X had to change from Twitter to X and actually allow free speech. Aiden Ross, Bryce Hall, Theo Vaughn, all had to come out of the woodwork. Joe Rogan to sit there and be like, whoa, you guys are bugging out and you're being disingenuous in your take. So they came and brought the truth, and now we have a lot more reach that we didn't have before. Or what he said is not true, how the media was anti-Trump, because you know darn well they were, and they are. You still are. Absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe it.
Believe me, there's plenty of anti-Trump media.
She's trying to pay you. She's trying to pay conservatives.
What I'm basically trying to say is that you guys have taken over the airwaves. You guys have taken over the radio airwaves. You guys have taken over podcasts. You guys have taken over pretty much, and now you're sitting here complaining because all you guys do is whine and complain. Your entire raison d'etre is have grievances. You don't actually think about leading. You just think about having grievances against the media.
I'd like
against
to add a
anybody who's
grievance
anti-Trump.
if I could.
Because I can keep going here.
Just another grievance is that Republicans are frustrated. They feel as though the media has been out against them. Some of that is social media. Some of that is influencers. Some of that is just false narratives. And I think that this poll was just sort of the the final straw, and people felt like it was somehow deliberate. That there was a deliberate attempt.
That's the word of the day, deliberate. What happens when it was deliberate? That's the whole point that Donald Trump is trying to explore right now. What happens when that deliberate fake poll comes out and does actually alter? Now, by the way, you forgot about X, you forgot about Truth Social,
Thank you. Yes,
and so
thank
on.
you.
But what happens when it is deliberate? And that's why I believe that ABC ended up folding, because they did not want discovery to take place.
Yeah.
That there's no other reason, as far as I'm concerned.
They
as to why
folded
did.
because they wanted to suck up to Donald Trump.
We got to go. Michael Cohen, thank you for joining us.
Shut up. ABC did that because they were wrong. You don't just pay someone $15-16 million because suck up to Donald Trump. That's absolutely absurd. Absurd. And this girl is out of touch with reality. All we do is whine and show our grievances. The last 8 years, yeah, we finally are able to speak and not get censored and taken down because of Elon Musk, because of the alternative media, because of the social media influencers that were conservative, that spoke out and woke up the eyes of the people that are a little bigger. Like, that is what now we are able to communicate. Now we have all these things, but you're being disingenuous because you know that time and time again for the last 8 years, or maybe 6, whenever we were able to actually have this alternative media that where we felt represented, we were silenced, shut down, like vilified, getting compared to Nazis. You're acting like none of that is true just because now the pendulum has swung and American people see right through the BS of the left. Like, no, that's not, you're not going to do that. You know exactly what was meant, and you know exactly how you guys behaved. And this is literally why you're in the position you're in now. And nobody trusts you. No one wants to be affiliated with you. And you're still being smug and snarky and annoying. And you're going to continue to lose because you can't resonate with the American people. Absolutely ridiculous. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribed. Make sure that you comment down your thoughts below. It was really, obviously got a little heated there, but it's you know, we're winning, and we're going to continue to win. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.